Absolutely. Well, it's not going to collapse as a government, but the leadership could change. So it's a little bit different to the American system. We have a parliamentary democracy where the party who has the largest majority or coalition, etc., they choose their prime minister from the party perspective. But this is difficult sort of a path for Keir Starmer to hang on, really. He's had over, I think the count's over 80 MPs now suggesting that he should resign. And that's enough. When he gets 81, that's enough to trigger a leadership contest within the
Right.
Labour Party. And when you replace the leader, you're essentially replacing the prime minister, and the rest of the parliament doesn't really have a say. So this is
Right.
really a drama within the Labour Party.
Is Starmer Blair-like, middle of the road, Clinton-like, or is he perceived as more liberal?
That's where he positioned himself for sure, and he's definitely had inspiration from Tony Blair and so forth. But what the Labour Party has done over the past couple of years is shifted to the left. So it was quite astounding that you had a sort of centrist leading the sort of realm. But the lack of sort of political action in terms of policy, it was a manifesto back in 2024 which really didn't have that much in it. It was quite vague. That's led to the situation Keir Starmer's finding himself in. The constant criticism from political commentators is he's lacked a political vision, and that kind of shows in terms of the polling. So he's, according to public opinion polls, the most unpopular British Prime Minister in history, and that's data going back to the 1970s. So it really is a net approval rating that has led to a big loss in these local elections, and the Labour Party, in an effort to try and survive, are slowly moving to remove the Prime Minister.
Jordan, what does the instability in the Labour Department or Labour Party reflect the economy and the economic trends in the UK?
Well, it's the stagnant decline of the UK since Brexit, really, that has led to this sort of fragmentation of politics. We used to have very strong two-party politics. Now we've got several other parties, Lib Dems, Reform and Greens vying for power. So you have a very volatile political situation where we have a first-past-the-post electoral system, which you can win a majority, as the Labour Party did, but with a very low amount of the vote share. Previously in the past, you would win these elections with large amounts of the vote share, so the rest of the public was on side of you. And that's not the case this time around.
I mean, one more question on this before we get to the markets. I mean, Isabella deceived Edward, I don't know which Edward it was, Edward II, I think, in like the 14th century. It was appalling. Is Starmer going to get deceived here? I mean, is this like, medieval like warfare among this party, or can it be adults like moving on?
Well, he might still hang on, so we can't rule that out. But the sort of joke going around is that he's trying to hang on until he gets to at least the Champions League final because he's an Arsenal fan. That's kind of the sort of timeline some people are highlighting. But it's kind of falling out of his power, really. If a leadership contest is triggered, if they go ahead with that formal process, there's nothing he can do to stop it. The irony is he relaxed these rules to make it easier to remove leaders when he became leader, because he had also tried to, along with other MPs, been involved with the Corbyn era, and the rules were much harder back then to change leader. But it could be the case that he's looking for a dignified exit and trying to make sure that a leadership contest, if it happens over the summer rather than instantly. And you'll hear a name coming up quite often called Andy Burnham. He's the Manchester mayor, and he's the most popular Labour figure amongst the public, according to opinion polls. So he's not actually an MP. So you're going to hear a lot about his name, and can he get back into Parliament to run? That's the big question.
We need to have a dignified interview. Paul, can you save the interview by asking something Mizuho-based?
Jordan, President Trump is heading over to China today for some pretty high-level discussions with President Xi. How do you think the markets are discounting this? What do you think the markets are looking for here or sensitive to?
Well, Donald Trump's done many summits with big leaders such as Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin, and sometimes not much that comes out of it that's market moving for rates and FX. So my base case is it's probably going to be something along those lines. Clearly, taking so many big level CEOs tells me that we're going to get some deals announced that are quite close to finalization. So that's probably what the headlines that I think will come from this. And then the big questions are on Taiwan or US, Iran. And I don't think the Chinese or the US will really materially change their positions on either of those. And then, of course, trade tariffs, where the courts are making life tougher for Donald Trump than China when it comes to trade tariffs at the moment. So I think it's just going to be deals announced from CEOs,
Right.
etc. But I think for broader markets such as rates and FX, it's going to be a bit of a nothing burger.
Jordan, quickly here, is the intervention by Japan been successful?
Good question.
It has. I mean, you can't doubt it. We've gone from 160 to 155 in dollar yen over the course of just a few days. The problem for the Ministry of Finance is they are leaning against the wind. Oil prices are rising, which weakens the value of the yen. And so in between those interventions, we're having that slow creep higher in dollar yen, which means they'll either have to keep intervening or the Bank of Japan will need to hike, or just hopefully a bit of luck and oil prices fall. That's the only way I can see the dollar yen heading lower, really.